Welcome. In this video I'm going to show you how to reload 223 or 556 ammunition. As you can see here, I am about to clean a bunch of fired brass from the range in my tumbler. This is just coconut shells and brass. A little bit of silicon dioxide in there to rough it up. As you can see, it's quite loud, but now you can see after 4 hours or so, the one on the left is clean, the one on the right is what it looked like before, very unclean. Alright, now I'm going to show you the steps of reloading. This is a Lee Loadmaster, but these steps really apply to any reloading of ammunition. So, yep, here's a 5-stage reloader, and I'll go through each stage and the whole process of setting up your loading, tuning stuff, etc. As you can see, I've already loaded the primers in. That part's pretty easy. And it's ready to go. Alright. The first step here is the resizing lubricant. It's like a water-based lube with some wax in it. That's really good, not toxic. And you put a bit of that on each shell. As you can see, just a dab. Then you load a shell in and resize it. I'm gonna fast forward a bit here. It basically squishes and shapes out the brass to its correct specifications. And then I do a second one as well. So this also takes out the fired primer, the little dented part in the bottom of the shell, as it resizes. And then the second stage, so that's the first brass gets resized, deprimed. The second stage puts the new primer in the brass. As you can see here, I squished the primer. It should rotate, but it squished, and this is an important part right there. Primer squished in halfway. I just needed to get used to centering and running the press. This usually doesn't happen. There you go. Loaded one with a fresh primer. That's what it looks like after the second stage. And just to compare you, there's one that's been fired. My primer strikes are pretty heavy. And it takes that one out and puts a new one in the second stage. Alright, there you go. Now I primed all the brass. This is important to prime all your brass first and resize, and then do the powder, bullets, all that stuff separate. Doing all the priming and stuff first, make sure you don't have any bent primers that you didn't dump powder in. Creates a huge mess when you're reloading. Or if you run out of primers, your powder will just spill everywhere. Basically, just prime them all first. Save yourself the headache, and you also get much more accurate results when you get to putting the powder in, because you're not putting all that force from the resizing, priming. That takes a lot of force. Alright, so now they're all primed, all empty. Now I'm going to measure and spot check them to make sure they're up to spec. 1.75 inches, as you can see there. And I'm tightening it, and look at that line. Exactly 1.75. That's my girlfriend.
Hey, too, that's my girlfriend, sorry.
So yeah. There you go, 1.75. Alright, now this is the powder measure. This happens after priming. That red thing holds all the gunpowder you'll be putting in. And then this thing actually measures the powder by volume. That little thing right there does the volume for each bullet. And it's adjustable, of course. I'll show how that's done. So once you get it all set up, there's a little piece that goes between, and the brass pushes in there. That turns the volume measure and fills it up. And I'll fast forward a bit, but just showing where it installs. It goes right after the priming stage. You literally just screw it in like that. Oh, I forgot to take out the bullet seater. That's the next step after you add powder. take that out first, don't be a noob, and then put this thing in. Alright. Cool. And I'll show you how this works more in a second. Great, so now you've got this part here. It will be seating the bullet on top of your cases once you fill them up with powder. And this is how the bullet seater works. The bullet will be seating, getting pushed into there from the case. And it's very important you seat the bullet the right depth. If you seat it too far out, it won't fit into your magazine. If you seat it too deep, it might blow up your gun because it might create extra pressure. So you want to seat it right up to the cantilever. I'll show you in a second what the cantilever is. Then yeah, just put that back in there, and you'll be adjusting that to make sure your bullet's at the right depth. You just do a few and adjust it until you get them right. Pretty easy. I always start a little too shallow because you can just keep pushing the bullets deeper and deeper, but if you push it too deep, you can't pull it back out very easily.
Never got any money for me, right? So weird.
Alright. So now this is my load chart. I'm going to decide how much powder I'm going to put in each bullet. So there's CFE 223, it's the powder I use, in grains, 24.5, 25.1, etc. And this is the velocity of the projectile. 62 grain full metal jacket, that's what I'm loading today. In a 20-inch barrel, we'll give, actually 16-inch barrel, sorry, give those velocities. So, there you go. You push the bullet in, and it is getting filled up with powder. I'll show you in a sec. And now I'm going to see how much powder is actually coming out of that thing. So it just filled up my bullet with some powder. Let me see by weighing the powder that came out of there exactly how much is being dispensed, and then adjusting it from there to meet the chart with my velocities. You can Google all those charts on load data books, etc. They're out there. I use everything Hornady, so it makes my life easy. They have great load data. So 1.66 grams, that's how much that powder weighs. So you simply plug that into Google, 1.66 G2 grains. That tells you you're at 25.6 grains. Pretty easy. So now this is the volumetric measure. And you can see, you just make it looser to fit more powder in there. So each turn, each flat side of this, is little flat sides on it, is 0.1 cc. So that'll go up 0.1 grams for each turn. One turn, two turn, you can see the little flat sides. The light's slightly reflecting off them. And three turns. There, I went up 0.3 grams. That should be about where I want on the chart. So let me double check. Boom, 1.7 grams, call it there. So you just plug that into the calculator, and there, 26.2 grains, based on the chart that I got from the load data from Hornady. It's on the internet, search load data. You can see here, the 26.2 and the projectile is 3,000. I'm shooting right for 3,000 FPS. I've loaded a lot of those, and it works great, right at 3,000. So there's the powder I use, CFE 223. It's honestly good stuff, great results for me. And just want to show off all the bullets I have. I bulk ordered these from Midway, USA, but I actually live up in Canada right now. And they still delivered, and there's 6,000 bullets there. And I know this has turned into a little ASMR video, but it's pretty cool. I love it. And if you don't want to load the cheap stuff, I have some match stuff I load as well. These are also 223, but very low drag for very long range shooting. If you're going past 600 yards or 600 meters, I would totally shoot these things. They're much more accurate. 75 grain, ballistic tip hollow points. Great stuff. I go up to 1,000 yards actually with those. So here we go. Now you've got your load all worked up. I just put some powder in there. I know how much is going in. And then you just place your little bullet right there. Kind of balance it in there. And most have a little bullet toe, just kind of squeeze them a little bit. And you're gonna push it into the bullet seating station. That's after I've done the powder. Usually I'll do multiple sets. I'll show you a time lapse of me reloading it really quick in a bit. So you can see that only seated it down to there. That's not deep enough. It won't fit in most of your magazines. It's literally too long. So you want to adjust it till you get it right to that cantilever. See, it's right in the middle of that, towards the end. That's where you want your bullet adjusted to. Yep, there she is. Now I'm going to show you the last step. The bullet's sitting in there, but you want it to be pushed in there real tight. You don't want your bullet falling out, getting pushed in, whatever. So this station here actually tightens your bullet a lot. It pushes that brass really tight into that little cantilever. Just a little bit, kind of pinches your bullet in there. This is important. Don't skip this
I don't
step.
know.
And look, right where my tip of my thumb is going to be in a sec. It makes that little ring. Here's me being a turd, not listening to my girlfriend who's cooking me lunch. But anyhow, now you've loaded your bullet. You want to see if it's in there straight, everything's good. You shouldn't see any wobble at the tip. So I like to roll a few of my bullets, make sure they're nice aligned, nice and straight. You don't want that bullet in there sideways or anything. It's not going to shoot accurate. So you just roll it down a flat surface, like so, and you shouldn't see any wobble. It should look exactly the same the whole way. And I'll show you from the tip. You can also turn it like this, and you shouldn't see the little point of the bullet moving in little circles. It should look as if it's staying completely still, even when you turn it at the end. See, it looks like it's staying completely still. Beautiful. That's what you want. That's a nice little visual check. Make sure you're seating, loading, getting those in there right. Okay. So you've seen pretty much every step there is of reloading. Let me show you how I do the powder and the bullet seating and the crimping, those 3 steps, in quick succession. Here's a little time lapse. There. Powder, bullet, seat, powder, bullet, seat, powder, bullet, seat. Just do that all day long. You can load up 100 in half an hour probably. And then every 5 bullets I like to check the powder. That's what I did there at the end. Now, if you don't reset your powder measure, there's a little cable there, you could accidentally load a bullet with no powder in it. I'll give it a little shake. This bullet happened to get loaded with no powder. And that creates a very dangerous situation if you were to fire that, because it could just load the bullet a little bit into your gun, then you put another bullet in, now you have 2 bullets, one stuck in the barrel, so you want to make sure that doesn't happen. So what I do here is you can't pull it out with pliers, it's just way too tight, as I tried doing. So you use this thing, it's called an inertia projectile remover. Another option is just throw the whole bullet away, say fuck it, but you know, ammo's rare, it's expensive, so you actually hit it on concrete really hard once you load her in there. And I just did that on my balcony, and that will actually take the bullet out the front of your thing. There you go. That's the one way you can remove. It actually does it gently enough that you can reuse the bullet. I use pliers on it because I was a dumbass, and anyway, throwing that one away. But here they all are, loaded up 99. I broke one of the cases when I was doing it, and I only had 100. So, yep, you want to polish the wax off that you use for resizing at the very end. Nice and clean. This part's the most tedious, but you definitely don't want that wax on when you fire, because it'll go in the chamber of your gun, it'll get all gunked up, it'll create weird pressure things, you're gonna get dented cases, so you want to polish them all at the end. Get them nice and shiny. And, you know, you reload good bullets, you put a lot of work, you want them to look good. You don't want to have dirty, gunky bullets you're shooting, you've put a lot of effort into these. So, I do that, polished them all up, and here we go, about halfway through. Getting them all polished. And I'll show you guys some stuff I do. As far as target shooting, I think I'm out here at 600 or 400 yards, hitting those targets way down there in my 223. You see I brought my case of ammo out there. Good old range day. This is the Hornady app. Not sponsored, but I use it to quickly adjust for my ballistics. I can set my scope to basically hit any range. And these are targets at